Real transformative self-love is not about being positive. It's not about forcing yourself to take a more loving, positive perspective on things. It's not about forcing yourself to focus on the good in you or the good in other people. That is not it. And in fact, by doing all of those like positive vibes only type practices, you could actually be lowering your authentic level of self-love and emotional intimacy with yourself. Real self-love is actually about alchemizing the very things within you that you did not love, that you do not know how to love. It's about reclaiming that energy of yours that got stuffed down based on old conditioning, years of invalidation. Real self-love practice is really shadow work, to be honest. But you don't even need to think of it in the term shadow work. 'Cause I know for some people, even just saying shadow work instantly triggers them and they just stop listening and their ears close up. So just, if that's you, forget I said that, because it doesn't even matter if you think of it as shadow work or not. The bottom line is that real authentic self-love towards yourself, no matter what you're feeling, what you're thinking, that is the foundation of a truly powerful self-concept that can change your life and manifest whatever the fuck you want in your world. So this feels important to talk about right now, and I wanted to give you guys just like a very simple self-love manifestation practice that can show you that this is so simple, but also very deeply transformative. And you will notice that when you do what I'm talking about correctly, you instantly no longer need to try to be detached from what you're manifesting or force yourself to be positive about things in your life or be positive about what you're manifesting. You will no longer have to force yourself because you naturally just sort of feel like, oh, I am okay. Like literally everything about me is okay. Even like the deepest parts of myself that even I hate, I actually feel kind of cool with those parts of me now. And so now it's like everything in reality just feels like not a threat anymore. Everything just feels a lot easier. Again, there's this natural sense of detachment. And when I say detachment, I don't mean like, oh, I don't want that anymore. Oh, I don't care about what happens in my life next. It's a detachment from the sense of threat. You no longer feel that hypervigilance of like, oh no, I better be perfect in my mindset and I better think the right thoughts and affirm the right things or else, I'm not gonna get what I want and maybe things won't go my way and maybe I'll be bad if I don't do it right. Like that is that kind of weird neurotic attachment that goes away and all of a sudden everything just sort of seems easy. Because that neurosis I just described, and I get there's many versions of what I described, like maybe you're not thinking exactly the thoughts I just pantomimed for you, but any kind of neurosis or worry or feelings about threat in reality or threat within yourself, all of that is just a lack of self-love, to be honest, if we're just gonna keep it really simple. So let's get into this really quickly. I'll introduce myself. My name is Genevieve, for those of you who don't know me yet, and I'm a manifestation teacher, an energy healer, a spiritual teacher, all of those kinds of things. And on this channel, I want to help you learn how to manifest appropriately. I am mostly a law of assumption type person, but because I have such a background in energy healing, obviously I incorporate in energy work, emotional work, because all of that is very complementary and very helpful to maintaining your new assumptions with law of assumption. So we dive deep into that stuff on this channel. If you are interested in working with me personally, I do private coaching. There is a link to that down in the description below. You can also do one of my courses. There are many courses that people have had amazing results with. All the links to all the courses are down in the description below. So check all of that out. And if you don't do any of that today, because of course you don't have to, you can simply like this video if you get value out of it and subscribe to my channel to see what else we are going to talk about here. So let's get into this. I think I've mentioned maybe once or twice on this channel that one of the things that happened to me when I got really deep into manifestation, in particular law of assumption, is I started to suffer more because I became even more hyper aware, hyper vigilant about, oh my God, am I thinking the right thoughts? Oh my God, am I feeling the right feelings? Is this the wish fulfilled? Is this the Sabbath? Am I in there? It's like my neuroses temporarily went up. My insecurities temporarily went up. And that's the opposite of what is supposed to happen when you get into manifestation work. And to me, it got to the point that I was like, oh my God, I just wish I had never learned of manifestation at all, because it almost like gave me a complex that I didn't have before I learned of manifestation, especially law of assumption. I didn't have this weird neurotic complex about worrying. What am I thinking? Am I thinking the right things? What am I feeling? Am I feeling the right things? And I was like, God, I wish I never learned this stuff. Like, life was easier before I learned of manifestation and got all crazy about myself. I'm starting with that story about me, and maybe some of you can relate to that. But I'm starting with that story because what I clearly see now, after years and years of doing this and finally figuring out how to do it right, is that my self-concept was obviously pretty bad. Because also, like most people when it comes to law of assumption in particular, you usually come into manifestation at a low point in your life. Like, usually you just went through a breakup, maybe you got fired, maybe you're like failing out of school, and you're like furiously Googling like, oh my God, how do I get my ex back? How do I like pass my exams or whatever? And you're in this like low, insecure, desperate self-concept where you feel like life is just slipping out of your fingers and things are not going well. And so when you come in to manifestation from that level of consciousness, that state of being, it makes sense that at first you're going to learn this very simple knowledge that we teach here, but it's like that state of consciousness, that level of consciousness that's so desperate and so afraid, it tries to manifest from that level, and then it accidentally just like makes it worse. It's like that old state like hijacks the knowledge. It doesn't incorporate it into your being quite right, and things just get worse until, again, eventually you figure it out, which I did. And again, here I am to help you so you can skip the suffering phase. So self-concept. Self-concept needs to be the foundation of everything that you assume. Your self-concept is really about your relationship with you, your relationship with yourself. How do you really think about yourself? How do you really regard yourself? How do you really treat yourself in your own moments of distress? When you are anxious, do you immediately go into a conditioning that says everything's falling apart? I'm going to be left. I'm not worthy. These are just examples of things that we can think. These reactions that you've patterned that are just reactions to your very normal and real and valid human emotions, those reactions are your self-concept. So obviously it's difficult to assume that your specific person is in love with you, or that your professors are going to give you the best grade in your class. It's difficult to assume those things about the outside world when your internal world is so full of just self-abandonment, self-hatred, self-disgust often, because it's like you're trying to assume, okay, my boss is giving me a raise, my boss thinks I'm the best employee ever, but there's like this gnawing energy within you that's like, you are an imposter, you're never gonna get what you want, everyone knows you suck. And because it's like, that's such a loud conditioning of how you treat yourself, that it's really difficult to stay focused in a healthy, surrendered way on just accepting the assumption that, yeah, your boss thinks you're great and wants to give you a raise. It's hard to really go there with that when the way you regard yourself, your self-on-self programming, is still really not great. So self-concept is really about, how do you handle and direct your own energy with yourself? How do you really show up for yourself? How do you really believe in yourself when no one is looking, when there's no physical stimulus, there's no manifestation? It's like you on your own, when you're just in your own energy with yourself. What is your genuine experience of yourself with yourself? So let's get into this technique, if you want to call it that can help you simply practice getting into that stronger, amazing, self-loving, empowered self-concept that you really want as your foundation. So remember what I said at the beginning of this video, that real self-love is not just like forcing yourself to be positive. A lot of the time, when you are forcing yourself to be positive, so let's use the boss example. Like, let's say you are manifesting a raise, and so you're focusing on your boss as a specific person that you're assuming, oh my God, my boss loves me. They know that I'm the best person at this job. They're going to give me a raise. So you're kind of focusing on, this is how my boss perceives me. So let's say your old self-concept has a lot of imposter syndrome, And your old self-concept feels a lot of competition with your fellow coworkers, and you really feel like, oh my God, Gary over there, he's actually like way smarter than me, and Sue over here, she's the favorite. Everyone loves her because she's so nice, even though she doesn't do her job well. Like, you've got all these perceptions that are kind of battling your manifestation, and you in the mix of it, you just feel like totally delusional. You've got so much imposter syndrome. You don't even like your job that much. So you're like, why would my boss give me a raise? Everyone knows I don't even like being here. Like, that's your genuine energy that you've gained a lot of momentum in your job. So what I'm saying is, like, if you just try to force yourself in the moment to just like have a positive perspective shift in that moment, it would be like chipping a little tip off the iceberg. It would be such a superficial band-aid. Like, it wouldn't be addressing the deeper mountain of weight that's been just brooding in your subconscious for so long. So just forcing yourself to be like, you know what? Just be positive. Just think that, yeah, everyone's fine. Everyone likes you. It's fine. But underneath, there's this storm that's like raging even more. And the reason it doesn't work is because you are invalidating what your genuine experience has been. And that is the most unloving thing that you can do, to invalidate yourself and tell yourself, no, what you're thinking about Gary and Sue and your boss and everything, like, that's crazy. Like, that's not true. Just like think of it differently. Like, in a very superficial way, you are invalidating yourself. You're telling yourself, you're wrong, and you're not going to get what you want unless you do this right. And you can just feel it's just so invalidating. It's so the opposite of self-love. So here is the trick. And as with freaking everything in manifestation, it is one of those paradoxical but very magical things that just like neutralizes the old energy in a real way. And for some of you, when I first say this, it might not land initially. You might think, this is crazy. I'm not going to do that. That's too scary. But I really want you to practice with what I'm saying. Maybe with something that's lower stakes than like your SP manifestation, but practice what I'm saying. So here's what I want you to do. So to use my example here, that you've got imposter syndrome at your job. You don't even like your job. You know it. Probably everyone else knows it. And everyone else you're in competition with, you think, you know, they're more deserving than you. Here's what I want you to do. You notice that maybe you're really in that energy today, this made up day. You're really in that just like juicy imposter syndrome feeling, and you're feeling so angsty and angry at Gary and your boss and everyone, and you're just like, fuck everybody. In that moment that you're really in that energy, you are going to validate it. But how do you validate it? You validate it by owning how much you feel like such a fucking imposter in that moment. And this is actually what I would do, because I do this in my own life as part of my own practice. When I really notice maybe I'm getting really stuck in like a negative, shadowy part of myself that like wants to kind of take the reins for a little bit, what you're gonna do is you are gonna own what an imposter you feel like, but you're gonna own it in a way that's as if it's very acceptable that you feel like an imposter. You're gonna own it as if it's totally the most awesome thing that you could be or feel right now. So for example, I'm gonna try to say it with that energy. I am such an imposter in this job. I just am. And it's awesome. I am such an imposter in this job. I hope you can feel the energy that I'm trying to give you here. You're leaning into owning this identity, this part of you that you have been like, nope, I can't feel that way. I'm not supposed to feel that way. Everyone's gonna be feeling that if I push that out. Oh no, I can't push that out. You are no longer fearfully trying to push away, invalidate, and change your perspective on this very heavy old state that maybe you've been carrying and projecting into lots of different scenarios in your life. You're gonna own it as if it is the best thing about you right now. That you're like, yeah, I'm an imposter. I hate this job. I don't like Gary. I don't like Sue. And you're saying it as if it's like, yes, that is so cool that you think that. It is so cool that you feel that. Like, you are validating it. You are just like, yep, screw those people. I'm an imposter. But then you're going to integrate in your wish fulfilled. You're owning the energy, but then you're integrating in the wish fulfilled that's like, And I'm gonna get that raise anyway, even though I know I totally don't fucking deserve it, even though I know that I'm the worst at my job, but my boss is a dumbass and he's gonna give me the raise anyway. Oh my gosh, I just have to laugh because this example has gotten into like such a funny example. And here's the thing, even if you don't believe the integration part. So let's say that, yeah, you really had a good time within yourself. Because again, this is self-honesty, just within yourself, owning this with yourself. So let's say you get to the integration part where you are pulling in, yeah, and my boss is going to give me this promotion or this raise, even though I totally don't fucking deserve it because I'm an imposter. Let's say that you get to that part and you still totally don't believe that. Like you still actually feel a little bit repelled by even claiming that. You're going to integrate that next piece in. Like, so then you say, and oh my gosh, and even though I know that, even though I'm claiming that my boss is going to give me this raise, I feel like I want to throw up. I feel like that's never going to happen. That feels totally unbelievable. You're owning the energy, you're validating it, and that naturally alchemizes that shadowy energy that's been building up within you. It alchemizes it into empowerment, into self-love, where you're like, I love and accept everything about me. I am authentically expressing all parts of me. And this is what's so cool. It makes you like 10 times more magnetic. It's like you're 10 times more powerful, maybe 100 times more powerful, because people will feel the shift in you where it's like, whoa, that person, manifester, is like unstoppable. Like, I don't know why, but like something about them is just so weirdly confident all of a sudden and so like unfuckwithable, because even the things that they used to be the most insecure about within themselves, they are like just leaning into and owning and validating, and they just like, it's like nothing can touch them because they're not really afraid of any part of themselves anymore. Of course, the people feeling your energy have no idea that's what's going on within you, but they will just notice this like unstoppable aura about you. And the biggest bonus is that you will feel better. Real self-love feels like you're like, okay, there's just nothing wrong with me anymore. I don't need to fight off my old story. I can integrate it in by actually owning it, and owning it as if it's not a problem, and that it's okay to be super pissed. It's okay to be super scared. It's okay to be super like totally not believing and not trusting in life or the process of life. I'm allowed to do that. And I'm allowed to step into the energy of what an imposter I feel like, or what a fraud I feel like, or even the energy of like how unworthy I feel. I can just own that like, yep, I am the most unworthy piece of shit in the world, but you're owning it as if you're like totally not threatened by that, that you're just like, and I'm still loved. I love that part of me that I've been trying to fight off for so long. I really hope that the power of this is landing on you, because I get it. There's so many people that come to my channel that just say that I trigger them, and sometimes they leave permanently. And then often though, they come back when they realize, okay, because I say a lot, like I challenge you to go deeper and really change your energy so that you're not just living in like superficial mental affirmation land and like nothing's really going deeper. I will challenge you to go deeper, and that will trigger you. It is in your triggering that unclaimed energy comes up, and it's a gift, because then you get to have it and be like, okay, now I get to own this in a different way. This is my energy that got repressed by some bullshit old programming and old conditioning that probably was given to me by society, my parents, everybody when I was just a little kid. This is my energy, and I'm going to reclaim it now. I'm not going to keep fighting it off as if I'm a fearful victim of my old story and my old programming. Real self-love is about, I'm going to love this part of me. I'm going to love my unworthiness so deeply, as if I'm really not threatened by that part of me anymore. And then that part of you naturally alchemizes into love, into worthiness, and then you manifest whatever the fuck you want. It becomes so much easier. As I said in the beginning of this video, when you really get good at this, everything starts to feel like not a big deal. Like everything feels like, yeah, nothing is a threat to me anymore. I really am so powerful. I'm no longer navigating reality, trying so hard to avoid certain things, and trying so hard to just be like, no, that's not me. I'm only this. But the nature of manifestation is that you are accepting that if creation really is finished, that means all parts of you were given to you by God and therefore must be accepted. If you deny parts of you or parts of reality, you are technically denying God and parts of God. So manifestation works really well when you get really accepting of all creation, all things in reality, all things within you. You're no longer fearfully trying to be like, no, positive vibes only. Because that is such a mean thing to do to yourself. You were made by God as this star amazing being that so much had to happen just for you to manifest physically. And your complexity is part of the gift. So stop being afraid of the parts of you that you've been like, my old story's the problem. Instead, let's integrate in the old story. Let's alchemize the old story by really owning it in a different way. So that is what I have for you today. This video got way longer than I thought it was going to be. I honestly thought this was going to be quick, which is funny. But please let me know your thoughts, your feelings, all of that down in the comments below. I'll also say that if this self-concept discussion really resonated with you, definitely invest in the self-concept course. That is the course that has given people probably the most success of all my courses, especially in giving people this sense of like personal freedom, where suddenly they're out of the jail that used to be their mind, that like prison that the mind used to feel like. It's like people suddenly feel so free within themselves, so empowered within themselves. And it really is the foundation of everything you manifest physically after that. So I highly recommend the self-concept course. And if any of you have done that course and you want to like leave a little review down in the comments below, I know that that really helps people. So do that. All right, but this really is the end now. So I will go. I will see you guys in my next video. All right, bye.